All right, all you devils out there, happy Friday. Oh, here we are. Let's see, it's 12:30 here on the 24th, and we're going to dig into our big three here. We'll look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the S&P. Get caught up from last week. Now, our Bitcoin bull here is, we run into a little resistance here, so it's getting a little tricky here for an Elliottian to try get a good read on that. So I figured I'd start here. I'd start with the bad news, or what's potentially the real monkey in the wrench here. So just stepping back a little bit, again, recognizing where we're going to find algo resistance as we start to come back up. So just using the dominant to dominant low, right? The 50 and the golden zone still up here. We're going to have to deal with those, and we've got to get on the other side of that. I think what most Elliotticians here are wrestling with is the finish. And we're not quite to the point where we can eliminate the possibility of some sort of an unusual flat happening here. And I say that because if you look, what's the best way to do this? If you look here, this is a pretty hard to argue with that impulse. So this would all be fine, right? If this had been our low, but since we're trying to figure out how to get that to be a low, I suppose at this point in here now with this, we've got to be mindful of the possibility here that at this point I think it's probably a W, that we've gone WX, and this now would be an ABC, and perhaps we catch a Y up here. Now that's a little tall for it, assuming this completes, assuming we go to the 50. I mean, there's some assumptions in this, but this is a little problematic here. Partly not because of what's come off of the low, but because of what came before it, right? So much of Elliott Wave is about the context. So coming before it, well, how are we going to get that done? How can you get here? And it's not pretty, sadly. It's, here, well, let me hide this. No, fuck, come over here. Let me hide that so as to not distract. Well, so of course, bulls, right? We all want this to be a 1-2, and perhaps even another 1-2 before we're going up to a much more substantial 3. The fundamentals in the background, right? We all know what's going on in the banking system, Fed, debt ceiling. I mean, it's literally, you can't script a better fundamental backdrop for Bitcoin. So why even fuss with this? Well, what are we at now? Almost 100, damn near 190 plus years of Elliott Wave analysis here, and this would just be unusual for Bitcoin to finish here. If you're the only way I can even see a way to finish this, let me zoom in here. It's just butt ugly. I can't find a way to get us to finish down here at a 5. This is the only way I can see us to do it. We'd have to go 1, then I'd have to have a small a, an expanded b into a c here to give me a 2, and I've got to do it that way so that 3 is longer than 1. That's the only way I can see to get it done, having looked at a number of different scenarios. So you would end up with this very unusual 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'd have to dig an ABC out of that to get your 5 done there. So this is how we'd be finishing that sell-off. Okay, maybe, right? I mean, if we roll, that's how it's likely to get labeled, right? If we keep going here and push enough to where we can eliminate where it's so far that's no longer the idea of a flat is playing. Okay, well then again you're going to have to bastardize the nice looking impulse coming down here, so that's going to have to. Oh Jesus, how are you going to have to do it, right? So you'd have. Let's do it this way. So the 5 would have to come down here. Let me take that up a degree. So what's the point here of going through this? I'm assuming that the majority of Elliotticians here that follow our stuff and are working with this themselves. You're going to have to come up with something along these lines here to finish. So an extension in the 1, 2, decent 3 here, 4, but then that's the ugly finish. So is it doable? It's doable. This is a little bit, you have to kind of catch yourself thinking, God, am I fitting it in? Am I force fitting it here because I want it to go here? Because I'm, not many people watch this channel don't know that I'm a raging bull and have been for 5 years, right? There are not many times you've ever heard me talk about shorting Bitcoin. So this would have to be the C down here. All right, so we'd have to have A, B, C getting there in this unusual way. It's certainly not the cleanest finish to where, right, over here, like you would have been just, ripping on this. Now, of course, the thing about trading here, and I was talking about this yesterday on the live stream. By the way, live streams are back. We'll do them on Wednesdays now. We pushed it to Thursday this past week because of the Fed on Wednesday, and it would, I think, probably the right thing to do because so much has changed, right? And this is up, down. That kind of volatility makes it a ripe playing field for institutions to manipulate, which is what they've done. In fact, they're doing it today again. If you're watching the indexes, so okay, let's go with it. So right for bulls, and if you're watching my channel or if you're a member, now if you're a member, I'm going to assume that the puzzle of how to solve this is part of the appeal, right? Because otherwise, why put yourself through this? Really, right? I mean, you can come to this and say, "Oh, fuck! Why do all this? If it's not adding value?" Well, so that's the question you got to ask yourself: is this contributing to your analysis to where you reach a level or a point on the chart where you say, "Okay, I see it. I know what to do here," and that's kind of the whole goal here. Geez, I've got. Getting a lot of really nasty comments the last couple of weeks here. Oh, well, man, you missed the whole thing, man. You suck, right? This Elliott is bullshit. It's okay. Those always kind of amuse me. One, if you think Elliott is bullshit, why are you watching my channel? Two, I mean, everything, right? Everything in trading is ridiculously simple and easy and obvious after the fact. Everything. So for those of you that caught this rip here, right, for you had the right timing, and I mean, I didn't catch it, but I'm long so much Bitcoin. I'm participating just in the increasing value of my Bitcoin. So it's not like I missed the rip, but was I counseling traders in here to say, "Oh, here it is, we get"? No, I wasn't. All right, because I'm still struggling with this low here. It still makes me a little bit uncomfortable to be just a raging bull here, bullhorn blowing hard that we're good to go. I'm 80% there, but now we're. Again, the market's not perfect, right? Elliott Wave is not perfect. It's not going to give you perfect symmetry all the time, but we want to be mindful of the downside, or the first assumption always. This sounds silly, but your first assumption should always be that you're wrong. Always, right? Because you're going to be wrong way more than you're right. So if that's your first assumption, you've got to consider, okay, well, if I think it's 1, 2, and we're working on another 1. What's the alternative, assuming I'm wrong? If I'm wrong, then what's likely happening here? And so you really have to have a plan A, plan B, or bull, bear, however you want to think of it, so that you're prepared for that, so that you're not completely blindsided. Now, I mean, you could have made the same argument here that I'm kind of proposing here, that we had a flat right here, right? I mean, it was textbook, right? That would have been it, which was part of the hesitation here. If we're back to this being the cleaner impulse that we started, and we had an A, a B, and then here. Now here's the perfect flat. And as we start, right, it was very easy to be thinking, oh shit, right? That's a 1, right, and 2, and we're going deeper. Well, then up comes the. Right now, again, in hindsight, right? So here comes the bank meltdown. Love people, Oh well, that was obvious. Well, it's certainly, the bull case is getting stronger here, but we're not completely to where that bear scenario is completely off the table. I mean, I'm probably 80-20 there. This is 1, 2, 1. Right, the big one's coming, and we're getting far enough from this low, but really to get there, we're going to have to get up into the mid-30s. We've got to clear this algo resistance up here, and eliminate the possibility that this is now just a big ABC, because it makes sense that we're stalling here. we've just gotten through the Fed volatility, right? So that's part of it, and that's part of what triggered the waterfall that we got here, which I know you can't see right now. We'll get there in a second. But as we wrestle with what's happening with risk assets, and now we've got government intervention, fucking with crypto, right? Which has always been the looming threat. Like they can't stop it, but they can slow it down, and they seem to be working on that, and that's primarily alts. I think is what we're talking about. So, again, there's no stopping Bitcoin. There's no blockchain is far too gone, but they can slow it down. They can do that. So as we look here, is that part of it? Is it risk assets? Is it money, being less comfortable being at risk when you can get 3-4% in, bond market or a money market fund? Why are you putting money at risk, right? There's got to be bigger upside there. So as we sit here, you can almost just kind of draw this out and go, well, where's the last place that we consolidated? I mean, you could do it. You could do this a couple of different ways. Say, okay, well, here we get into those lows. Okay, well, we're trying to get through it. We're trying. You can understand, right? So if you would just look here and say, okay, all that consolidation here, boy, I'm going to feel a whole lot better when we get up through that. Now let's take off the possibility that that's the 4. Well, let's kind of map it out and see if we can get enough of a clear path here. Okay, so the first impulse, rock solid. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that as an impulse. The correction, it wasn't a typical 8 zigzag, but we got a fairly what can we say? It's a 3-wave, right? That let's keep it simple, right? Probably, for you Elliott heads, it's probably a WXY, but in terms of simplifying the swing structure, that's a 3, and then off of it comes a rip-roaring impulse. But now as we've stalled here, the labeling here and identification is getting a little tricky. So that's what I can absolutely promise you. There is no Elliottician anywhere that has conviction as to what we have here. It just could be too many different things, right? And we're stalling right in the, if it was going to stall there, that would make sense as to where it's stalling. Now, can this thing finish, right? Is the 3 in and we're some sort of a correction and we've got to go up here for the 5? Okay, well, that's going to look a whole lot better. But that is, could it be? Here, let's draw it out. Now, note here, I am not in log scale any longer. We're right on the edge of needing to be in log, but I think we can stay out here. So the 3 did not get longer than the proposed 1. So this needs to finish here to be a candidate to be the 3. I got to get another leg in here. If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's get that up. Oh, let's make it something big here, and let's put it, here, let's put it in, what am I not using here? Here's blue. Okay. Let's go to, let's make it bigger so you can see it. Okay. If this is 1, 2. Okay, just Elliott projection, right? So if this is 1, 2, well, here's the high probability location for the 3, right? You can't make that shit up, right? So the overlap here is interesting. Right? Now, so we're going to have to kick here pretty hard to get up there. But all I'm doing is just taking the dominant high to the low, and then all I'm doing here is taking, right, this is just Elliott 101 for wave projection, the length of the 1 projected from the proposed 2, highest probability. Again, market's not obligated to go there, stop there, pivot there. That's just historically, if we look back at wave 3s, that's the highest probability location for that wave 3. Now, we don't even know that the wave 3 of the wave 3 is done. We can't confirm it yet, and it's definitely tricky in there. So this kind of needs to happen for us to really say, oh, game on, baby. All right. So the assumption would be, well, let's just play it out. If we get 1, 2, and we're going to get a traditional, that's going to be too steep for, well, we can get I'm trying to get some traditional Elliott channeling on it here. You'd have to double it now, so let's clone it. Take it up 1. All right. Okay, so now as we push off of this, now once we get the 3, we'll put a 1 through a 3 for the 4, but we don't have that yet. So, right. Eventually we would get something like this perhaps, and then bring it down for the 4, looking for that intersection here, assuming we get this 4 up for the 5, right? Maybe the midline here. Now we're coming into the next area of resistance where we have supply zones up here. So we're trying to get this to finish, right? That's what we're looking for, right? That's what every bull on the planet, right? And if you're watching this channel, if you're into crypto, I'm going to assume that you're bullish. You're a bull, right? By nature, you're a bull, right? Rather than being in here looking at all this crypto action, hoping it fails. Probably some with there, right? So they think that the opportunity is in shorting this crap, right? I'm sure there's plenty of that. Actually, now that I think about it, plenty of that. But I'm going to guess the majority here, right? We want crypto to go. Right? Why are you spending all this time analyzing in here in a new asset class, right? So now is it, crypto, not quite the hot kid on the block that it once was, right? Now everything's AI, but then we have AI crypto. So, I mean, there's not, my Twitter feed, my news feeds are like 10 out of 12 articles are about AI. It's just dominating, right? It's just all over the place, right? So crypto, which was the hot kid on the block, not so hot anymore. So the intersection of those two is going to be very interesting to watch. Well, I digress here. So let's get back to our puzzle here, which is really what this is. This is one heck of a juicy puzzle, right? And again, if you're an Elliottician, you either love the puzzle or you hate it, right? And you don't like, oh, fuck that, right? It's way too much work. Well, no, I don't begrudge that, right? It's up to the individual how you want to approach the market. There is no one right way, period. What we're doing here at TDU with our combination, right? It's Elliott, it's algos, fib relationships, and geometry, right? That's what was taught to me. That's how I've traded for 30 years. So that's what we teach, right? That's what it's all about. But it is certainly not the only way to skin the cat. Okay, so as we look here, let's simplify some of this, having gotten a kind of a bigger picture here. And I'm on an 8-hour, and of course I'm on BitGet, which is our sponsor. All right, let's dig into this a little bit more and see if we can break it down, having gotten our big picture now. Okay, so I'm on an 8-hour. Oh, let's go to a 2 here and see. May not be enough. Well, this is so interesting to see the 618s on top of each other here. And that is just so that let's call it 36,000 for our round target there. Now, how are we going to get there? Okay, well, this is a bit ugly. All right, so I'm going to take some of this off and recognize we got some unusual Elliott happening in here in terms of how we're going to count it. So, maybe a good. Let's go to a 1 here. See if we can get a better look at this. Okay, so where are we here? Right? So here's the Fed news. Of course, the market drops in sympathy. Now, it is worth noting here that while that's a sympathy drop with the Fed raising rates again, the correlations here are breaking. So we don't have the same correlation that we've had for damn near years now. So that's encouraging for Bitcoin bulls, is that we're not swinging right with the NQ as we were certainly for the last year or so. So as we sit here now looking at this, boy, is this a bitch to get a handle on. Well, so looking here, let me zoom in here a little bit. I should have been a little more prepared for that. Okay, so this rocket launch here, the bank news here, which sends everybody into Bitcoin. All right, which we like to see, right? Of course, don't misread what I'm saying there. Oh, let's get some of this off of here and break it down a little bit. All right, clean up the chart here. Get this one out of there. All right, this channel here I think is still worthwhile. But as we open it up here, okay, so if we look, even if we just use some, oh god damn it, come here, Elliott oscillator here. Okay, so this 3 here, if I use this thing, this impulse right here is pretty solid. But if you look, you'd prefer this to be the 3, right? But you don't get a good 1, 2. So if you look at the Elliott oscillator here, 1, 2, 3, this would be the 3 of the 3. This is the 5 of the 3, right? And then we'd come back down. Here's the 1. So you've got all of the right swing relationships, momentum, and what do I want to say? the thrust perhaps is the right way to say that here. So the peak here being the 3, that being the 5, and then we come down here. Now, as we started to come down, the thinking was, oh, perhaps we're putting in a 4 and we've got another leg. But now as this is gone, you're kind of forced to, at least at this moment in time, with what's come off of this, to at least pencil in the 2 there. Now, that could change, but right now it looks like that's the 2. Even though we kind of want to put the 3 here, 4, and the 5, we can't quite do it. Now, what you will notice here, of course, is pretty obvious here. If we look at the momentum, whether it's the Elliott oscillator here or just the RSI, it's drift, drift, drift. And then as well, we've got volume coming down. Now we get the spike of volume, right? But that's the volume that comes with the Fed news. Now we're getting a couple of other pops here, so we get a big downdraft here, then a big updraft. So it's chop, which is much of what let's just call risk assets are doing. But this drift, the lack of momentum, and what we see down here in the Gann high lows, which are a series of different period lengths. Well, now we're red, right? And this is not to be ignored, I guess is the point, right? So you're like, okay, bull horn is blowing, right? All of the ingredients are there. These are not absolutes, right? Every indicator there is lags. All indicators lag, but these are clues. I was talking about this yesterday. These are clues not to be ignored. Right? It's a drift, right? Volume, momentum. A lot of drift here. So if we dig into this up here, what the hell could we do with this? Well, we'd have to work. You've got a 5 followed by a 3, despite being a shallow 2. It flies as a 2, and then I can get a 1, 2. I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got a good impulse into this 3 high A, B, C. Right? We simplify, right? So we call it a 3 into the 4. Now, do we finish here? Hard to say, right? Because you've just got a bunch of chop that leads into this free fall. Now, what leaves you thinking that there's still a candidate here for this to be a 4 is that we don't overlap the 1. Right here, we don't overlap it. We come down, we threaten it. Interestingly, right to the God MA, right? 200 EMA and SMA average, we come right to it. But we don't overlap the 1. Interesting, right? Some things that don't happen randomly. And we just come down and tap it, right? So we get this double here. And then pretty good thrust coming off of that. But we're not getting an impulse. And now it looks like this is some sort of a triangle. So you're looking at this going, wait a minute, could this be a WXY and that the 4 is still yet to come down here? Well, we can't overlap the 1, so it's going to have to finish there. So you might, right, let's consider all the possibilities. If we've gone A, B, C, that could be a W. So, how are we going to do that? So we go W, candidate for an X. Now we're looking for a Y. That's probably too big a degree. Oh, let's go. Here we'll go micro. Okay, so could we have a W, an A, B, C into an X? It's hard to call what that is. It's just a bunch of slop is what that is, right? There's no real pattern recognition here that we can look and say, okay, well, what's the last thing I can see? I got a waterfall followed by a 3 that doesn't give me a new high. You're kind of stuck here between a supply zone and a demand zone here. So a break of one side or the other. It looks like they're, oh, Jesus. This is for those of you that like the puzzle, just getting to this as a B is tricky, right? And one of my PKS Avenda, right, who's my level 3 Elliottician, EWI certified, right, a new member of our team. He and I were working on this. It looks like you'd have to do this through this gets very tricky here for those of you that are into this kind of stuff. Like you'd have to get the triangle here to give you the B. So you'd have to go A, then A, B, C, D, E into the, let me get here. A, B, C, D, E into the B to give you the C. So you're going to end up with A, B, straight down rip for the C. And the only reason you're holding on to the possibility here that we've got the 4 either here, allergies still a thing, is here is that since we don't overlap the 1, are we still working on a 4? Well, you'd want to look for some relationship or some pattern recognition here between the 2 and the 4. So if we could think of it this way, we just say, all right, let's take the length of the 2, project from the proposed, oh, pardon me, this would be your 3 high here. So we'd be down here. If you were going to get 100 of it, you'd be overlapping the 1, invalidation. If you're going to get the 618, you'd hold it, right, as we did right here. It's tricky, right? There's just no clean count here. So there's no particular count here that gives you conviction one way or the other. I think we really have to see, does this turn into, so what's the other possibility here? If the 4 is in here and we take that WXY off, right? We go with the ABC. Oh, so the 3 is right here, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. Well, I got a 3 here. So one possibility here is I'm just starting into an ending diag to finish the 5, right? And the 4 is in. The threat in here of the threat here to the 1 is rejected. But I get a 3 to start. 1, 2. Boy, that's reading in. That's a little hopium hit right there, right? Because that's what you would want, right? If you're a bull, we really don't want the thing to be done. And in this cluster up here, so it's a bit of a hurry up and wait. I would be now, of course, if you didn't catch the rip, well, you're kind of looking for a retrace, right? So you can get on board. That would be my thing. I mean, that is my thinking, right? So if I can come down here and somewhere in this range here. Right now, remember, a high volume node allows for size to be buried, but we don't always get there because of the imbalance of the low volume node is often a rejection. So if we come right to the edge of it, that's what I'd be looking for. But it doesn't quite play in a look at what it would look like, right? So a lot of times we're thinking, oh, okay, well, let's say we get up here and we finish and we just use the geometry of that channel here. So if I finish and I get my 5 up here, okay, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but for the raging bull runs, to really fly, it's a little surprising, right? Now, again, given the backdrop, right, we've got a lot of complexity in the fundamental landscape. How about we say it that way? Complexity. So what do you do with this? Well, of course, one thought is just looking at it. It's just a lot of sideways. So this would be, I have to be careful. So for me, this would not be an area where I'd be anxious to want to enter because I don't know. Essentially, I've got a range here, right? And since we know that, well, what do you call it? 90% of range breakouts fail. Well, here was the first attempt at it. Fails. Right now we come down here. Are they breaking lower? Oh no, we hold. Now back up to the top. Oh nope. Now we're back down. So we're stuck in the box here. As the market consolidates, now are we distributing or are we accumulating before the next rip higher? Hard to make that call right now because the Elliott hasn't given us any additional insight as to what we might have here. So yeah, there's a little bit of a hurry up and wait here, I'm afraid, right? Of course, I'd love to be able to tell you, right, this is a very ideal location to be considering longs, right? I never tell you buy here, sell here, stop there. That's not what we do, right? As I've said many times, that's never what our intention was. If you're looking for that, there are plenty of places to give you that. That's just not what we do, right? My view is if you're doing that, you're totally dependent on someone else, right? Which has never been our goal. Our goal has always been to get you to where you don't need anyone else. And if you're participating in a community like ours, you're doing it because you like the camaraderie. You like the idea of being able to bounce ideas off of other traders while you're in that learning process. Even if you're a master. I mean, I've been doing this for close to 30 years. I still seek counsel from other eliticians, right? Just look because... I'm not so arrogant to assume that I have the answer. In fact, the one thing that I tell most people most of the time is that I'm wrong the majority of the time. I'm wrong all the time. But as I've said 100 times here, the goal is not to be right. The goal is to be profitable. And if you don't understand how you can be wrong more than you're right and still be profitable, then your issue is not technical analysis. Your issue is money management. Right, so that's the hard reality, which is a big part of what we're we're redoing some of the upper belts, in particular brown, with a heavy emphasis on money management. So for those of you interested in that, I mean, you can simplify it, right? You got to make more when you're right than when you're wrong. Simple, right? If you can get 3 to 1, math's going to work for you. All right, let's get back to the issue here. Okay, so 1, 2, I'm not sure what we got up here. It doesn't make me want to get aggressively long or short it. It makes me want to sit and go, okay, you got to reveal another layer. I want to see what's underneath. And until I have any conviction about where the next trade is or where the next opportunity is, I can tell you just looking at it where I'd like it to be. I mean, it's not hard to see this as an area that would be of interest. All right, resistance. Gets through, right? We come back to it. I mean, this was unusually deep, but if we're coming back here, so, okay, well, let's just draw it up. Where would that, now we don't have a pivot here. We don't know if that, I mean, that could be the top. So if we come back here, whether you're at a 38, if we're going to go, oh shit, get that hot. If we're going to go a little higher, right, and we're going to get another kick up here, well, now it's starting to look like a 50. Right now, so I'm pulling up here because that would be our invalidation point. That's where 5 would become longer than 3. So if I look here and I take the length of the proposed 3 and I project from the proposed 4, well, you can see right here, this is where we'd have invalidation because 5 would be longer than 3 and we'd have to redo this whole count, right? Or rethink the whole thing. That being, what do I got there? 31,407. Right, to, adjust accordingly relative to your exchange. It's tricky in there. Why, as I say a lot, why be in a hurry here? If it breaks, well, let's just, okay, so why would you trade in the first place in here? Well, FOMO, right, of course, right? You don't want to miss something, right? You're like, oh, fuck, I missed all of that, so I want to get that. I know. I mean, that's part of trading, right? You got to wrestle with that. If you're consistently looking for high probability setups, you're gonna miss some rips. You're gonna miss them, right? You got to be able to live with that and not beat yourself up. Oh, I missed the rip. Well, apparently I can't make any money in this bull run of Bitcoin because I missed the first rip off the low. I mean, that's kind of silly, right? That's not where the money is made, right? Picking highs and lows. The money is made in the middle. Right, the chunks. Again, right, we all get so caught up in trying to nail the pivot. That's not where the money is made, right? If you look here, where's the money made? Right in the fat middle, right? It's not this, right? High risk. Once it gets going, that's where the money ball is, right? There's the 3 of the internal 3, right? Did you know that was a 1 at that? Of course not, right? Nobody knew that was a 1. It looked like it was a 3. Go for the middle. Don't try and be in here. I said that a couple last week, and I said, I had quite a few comments here. I said, my view would be not to try and be a hero here and pick the turn. Well, okay. So there you go, right? There's that right out of my mouth, right? So thus I was not diving into this. Once it started to go, well, I'm a retracement trader. So I'm waiting for the retracement, right? This was shallow. Was that easy to spot? Well, I mean, again, in hindsight, you probably look here and say, well, all that consolidation here, that would make sense. It was unusual for a 2, right, to only go 38. Looked more interesting down here, right? But that's welcome to trading, right? It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to lay up for you just like you'd like it every time. So the process here is what's important. It's not did you get this trade? Did you get that one? Fuck that. That doesn't matter. What matters is your process. Are you consistently identifying areas where, at least in your own mind, you believe you have an edge? If you think you have an edge, you take the trade. If you think I don't have an edge, as I would say right here, nobody has an edge here. No one. Oh, maybe a whale, who can drop some size here, but for the average trader, you have no edge there. Now I say that, and this thing could fall or rip $5,000 either direction, right? That's not the point. The point is not to say, oh, a rip's coming. You better get long. Plenty of people do that. Plenty of YouTube channels. You're going to get that. Plenty. No, it's not what we're about, all right? I'm trying to teach you a process, all right? If you don't like it, what are you here for? I'm always confused why people don't like to shit on my content. Why are you watching? Anyway, I digress. Okay, I think this is a hurry up and wait. So let's. Oh shit! Here, let me pause. I get over to ETH. Okay, here's ETH. I'm over on Bitstamp now. I don't know why. I've got my TA over here. Okay, we're kind of hopeful for the 1 2 1 2. All right, it would be another 1. The geometry here holding this pretty remarkably. 1 2 3 4 5 6 hits on that upper edge of that trend line. I got 1 2 3, so I know I've got good geometry in this channel here, and we're getting denied getting that target. Now note here per the Sonar Labs indicators is giving me this supply zone here that the market seems to be wrestling with, but it's just as we were looking before, all this consolidation here. Yeah, we got up into it, got rejected. Now we're back testing again. What the market needs to do here, we got to get up and challenge some of this, break through, and then what are we waiting for? The retrace, right? That's kind of what you're waiting for. So then the question becomes, right? Well, okay. Well, here's what a lot of people do. They think, okay, well, I want to get the breakout. Right now, I for 5 years have been pretty adamantly encouraging people who take my advice that this is not where you want to get long, right? You're way too it's like getting long here or getting short here. This is a if the goal is looking for high probability entry locations, the edge of resistance, anticipating, right? Because what do you do in your mind's eye? You go, oh, I see it. It's you fill in the blanks. You fill it in thinking, oh, I see it, right? I know it's coming. Well, you better have a whole lot of conviction because you're certainly well, here, let's zoom in there a little bit. Think of it this way. Where are the stops going to be, right? That's market has one mission only, right? To facilitate trade. Where do we facilitate trade? Where we have liquidity. Where is the liquidity? Well, we don't have to wonder too hard, right? We know there's going to be some liquidity up here. Right, we know there's going to be stops up there. I mean, it ran right into a prior supply zone here. We tapped it once. Now we're going to have to get through, right? Get to the other side of it here. Now, is that what we're doing here? It's kind of the same thing, right? You're running into the resistance here that's already been established. So, let's go down. Let's go down to a 2 hour here, right? Is that like, oh, okay, I can see the breakout coming? No, you can't. No, you can't. Anybody telling you they can is full of shit, right? They're just 50-50, right? Oh, well, maybe it's coming, maybe it's not. That's not a high percentage entry. Same kind of problem we have down here. Look at that lack of momentum. Now, that can change quickly, right? I'm not saying, well, fuck, it cannot possibly go. It's just right now, again, these are clues. The market is talking to you. Lack of momentum. That doesn't, what that's not screaming is buy me now. Now, of course, the second I say that, if this rolls, right, there'll be 25 comments. Man, I thought you said not to buy it. It almost doesn't matter to me what happens here. I know this is not a high probability location to enter the market. So I really don't care. I'm just okay, I'll wait. You come down here, now I'm interested. You break up here, oh, okay. Well, now all that's doing is just confirming, okay, well, maybe the 5's up here, the 3's up here, and this chop here is a sideways 4, and I got a 3, I got to refigure the count. Jesus, can I even do that? God, it's pretty damn good right here. This is hard not to like, but what is this? What are we doing up here? I mean, you got a triple time, more than a triple. 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got all of that here. Now you might say, well, look, it's getting rejected, but it gets a little bit higher each time. Wouldn't it be reasonable to anticipate that part of what's happening there is that shorts are accumulating longs, right? Or fuck, come here, can't get that out of there. Or that what's happened up here is that the stops that were up here, right? They're being grabbed, right? It's kind of a liquidity grab to get enough people on the wrong side of the market, such that it would be easy now to get these people completely panicked and selling, right? So if what you're trying to do is to accumulate all the longs up here so that you can rip it down, right? And they all have to cover. And then right, that's why I'm a retracement trader. I don't want to have to be thinking, oh shit, or I don't want to trade that way, right? That takes the fun out of it. I don't want to be stressed. I want to see the pattern and recognize it. Okay, I've got an edge here because assuming that's the 5. If we come down here, okay, I'm at the edge of value. I've got a 50. I've got a demand zone. I'm coming into prior structure here where I can look at this and say, well, we consolidated here. I've got a lower volume node. So if the market comes down here and it does it in a 3, I'm stopped out or not, I know I'm taking a trade that's consistent with my trading plan. Weighted. Got the confluence that I'm looking for. I can take the trade and I can define the risk clearly, and I know if I'm right, if heavy emphasis, if I'm right, I'm going to make at least 3 times what I'm going to lose if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong and we head lower, okay, maybe I have to rethink the count. 1, 2, 1. Well, we could go down to the 786. We could go a tick from that pivot and still be valid. Would I be taking it down here? No, probably not. Right? Because again, why pick the turn? I'd be waiting for, show me the reaction, and I'll take this because then my stop's right here. Right? Just like any 2 or any B. If we get a pivot here, just hypothetically, if you get a pivot here, everybody on the planet knows their stops there. So there's going to be a push to get them from bears. If they can't get them, right, bears have to cover. That's what drives, right? I've been through that many, many times, right? That's what drives the 3. So as you're sitting here looking at this now, what do you want to do? Well, do you want to just say, well, I'll start to accumulate here? Okay. If that's your thinking, what is your plan if it starts to drop? Are you trading with leverage? Are you just accumulating spot here? Do you have a point where you stop buying and you just hold? I mean, what is your plan, right? That's kind of the idea. If I'm looking here, I'm going, okay, well, I'm not buying that. It's just me personally. I'm not buying that. I don't need to. Again, I'm long enough Ethereum. If it rocket launches, it's not like I'm not going to participate, but I'm not going to add to a position here in that consolidation. I don't see a reason to. There's no conviction in that. So why force a trade? All right, so, but take note of that channel, or just consider it a trend line, right? That's pretty firm. So if we did get a bounce off of it, if we came up here, boy, coming back to that would be of interest, right? And it doesn't have to be to the tick, or something like this would be just fine, right? So you'd come back. So what if this was the 5? We'd have to rearrange the 3 into the 4. Right? We'd have to see what we get here. Again, right? We start going up. Now, where's the 50, right? Come back in here into all of this, right? That structure, low volume at the 50. That's a trade. I'll wait for that. I'll let that go and not cry about it. And if it comes back down, I'm ready to roll. All right. So I think we're in hurry up and wait here as well as the market's wrestling, right? I mean, just look at that. Does that look like something that you want to get in the middle of? That look like something you want to jump into? I'm going to guess not. Okay, let's finish up. Oh shit, I'm going kind of long. Let's finish up with the ES. So hang on. Okay, we'll finish up here. We'll look at the ES. A couple of things here, very noteworthy, right? So if you really want to see this algo in action, all right, there it is again, coming to the ES. Whether you were down on the 1 minute, 2000 tick, 5 minute, this algo just dominates. It's just all it does. It's just back and forth. And you see a couple of good examples here. Now I'm on a daily. So here's the swing up to this pivot, golden zone. Swing to this pivot, golden zone. This was a 50 from the top. But the point I'm trying to make here is that with that algo dominating here, we can start to put in a couple of Elliott counts, and there are actually 2 different ways to read that. We've looked at this a couple of times. We could do this a couple of different ways. So as it's drawn here, we could have, well, here, maybe it's easier to do it this way. A, B, C into a W. So we'd have a W, an X, A, B, C into an X, and then this would be an A, this would be the B. Now we'd be looking for a C. So we're looking for 5 to come down and finish it. If it's a 5, we can do it this way. We would do it here, and again, for some I'm repeating, I know. 3, we'd have a leading diag for the A into the B, right, to the golden zone. And then so if that's our B, then we're looking for 5 into the C. So the Elliott count, it makes the same implication here, that this target down here, 33, 32, is where the market is. It's a very real possibility that we're heading to that location, right? So if we're going to, again, I'll leave the fundamental analysis to others, but for those of you that pay attention to that, certainly the backdrop here would suggest that that's a very real possibility, whether we're going into recession or just money coming out of the stock market or coming out of banks or just people being uncomfortable, putting it in either bond funds or money markets where they can get now 3-4%. The opportunities to diversify are increasing. So what's that going to do to the stock market? Well, it remains to be seen. But as technicians, we can look here and say, well, clearly I can see the algos participating here, and we've got 1, 2. Take it down to a 5-minute. There'd be 400 or 500 of them. So as we look, the only question is, okay, is this the 1, 2 that's going in now? So the next leg down, the implication is that's going to be a big 3. So the Elliottician would be looking for a big 3 to come out of here, right? Maybe come down, challenge those lows, kick back for the 4, come back into all that structure, and then we come down and we finish, right? So this target here is tied to this one, right? If you look at it here, right, that's the bigger one, right? This target is right here, right, the inside. So if I go, try 2 hour. All right, so here again, no, not the 618. Rarely is it the 618 golden zone, because what happens at the 618? They run all the stops. The people who don't know any better put their stop 1 tick beyond the 618. That's how the golden zone was developed. Okay, so I don't have a great, what do we got there? That's kind of a gnarly looking. Looks like a series of 3. So this is your waterfall, Fed news, into a 3, but we follow it with a 3. So perhaps diag is what you're thinking. 1, 2, 3, 4 for a leading diag into the 1 of 3. If I look here, all right, there's 50. We didn't make the target though, so you'd be anticipating, okay, are we coming back up here? We're going to go golden zone. Plus you've got this. Looking here, pardon me. Here we got wick got through, but we did not close above, right? So still valid. There's the target. So then you'd think, oh, is it? Here, let's put them all together. So that one gets target. This one here, 50, not quite to target, right? And we're coming back to challenge that 50. So we might go golden zone here, but now I'd be looking here saying, okay, because I've got the internal 3 there. If I'm coming back up to that golden zone, I'm sure going to pay attention right here. This is a lot of long calls here. Right? So if we get beyond that, then dealers that were on the other side of those, because people are buying calls, right? They'll have to stay delta neutral, so they'll be buying futures. So there could be a kick here. It's kind of it's all the markets, right? There's so much uncertainty, right? And when there's fear, it makes it ripe for manipulation, which is much of what we've seen since the Fed announcement. Just lots of manipulation. Well, I mean, look at today. It's down hard overnight. Now we're raging higher again. If I go to a 15-minute here. Here's the overnight or a London session, and we start here. Now we're reclaiming all of it. Looks like just a 3-wave into the low here. So it's kind of the same thing. There's not a very clear, what are we doing here? I think it's almost a little bit better, as is the case almost always with Elliott, to come out to a higher time frame. Say, could we have a diag going in here? If that's the case, if you're trying to label it right as it sits right now, of course, wave counts change. Is this 4, 5 going in? I mean, as it sits right now, okay, that's a contender. What invalidates that? That invalidates it. If we go up and we take out that too high, we can do that today? Well, anything's possible. It's not a great looking, so the other thing to consider if you're looking for a pivot, if that's the 3, the pivot for a 4 in a diag is often found at the 50. So if we came back up and tagged that 50 and then started to come back down, then you might lean a little bit harder in, because you'd be looking, okay, oh, I got an algo that I'm participating in. Here's the move from the 50 to that target. So that would give me that diag structure. I'd have a 5 with a lot of overlap here, which would make sense given the manipulation and the way the market is reacting to what's happening with the economy, what's happening to the Fed, what's happening to interest rates. All of that confusion lets institutions just take advantage, which they do. So all of this overlap here is making people nervous, right? It's a high volatility, right? And a lack of direction, lack of trend. So we're trending up, we're trending down, we're trending up, we're trending down. People get nervous. Wait a second, I can get 4% in a bond fund. Maybe I want to pull a little money out of the market. Maybe I want to pull a little money out of my bank. It's interesting times we're in. It's kind of the same thing here. Do you have an edge here? I mean, there's a 4-hour. Okay, maybe with options here, you might take a swing at a short play here off of the 4. You got a low volume node here, prior structure. I mean, I wouldn't be in a long-term futures position, but maybe trade the SPY. Maybe trade the SPY and look to get, right, and as the market's coming up, right, just simple relationship of how the market's going to price the options. As the market is rallying today, puts are going to be less expensive. Now, do you want to buy options going into a weekend? You generally not. You don't, right? Because you've got time decay over the weekend. So coming in, now the trade-off there is you could come in Monday and the thing could be down 100 points. So you don't know, but generally, as a rule of thumb, you don't want to buy options on a Friday. You want to sell options on a Friday because you get the free time decay over the weekend. I'd want to see that 5 complete. So I knew, okay, I've got, whether it's B or 2 or X, I've got a pivot here. And the implication is that we've got to get down here and we've got to no, I can't even find it. We got to find our C down here at 3,200. It's way down here. That would be the 3, 4, and the 5 is down here at 3,200. You know, if you're trading the S&P, that's why I prefer to trade it very short term, right? Rather than try and guesstimate where this is going, particularly when it's not terribly clear. The one thing I can say is that if I was taking longer term positions and paying for longer term premium, I'd be bearish, right? Not because I'm trying to read the fundamental news, but based off of the Elliott count that's here, I'd be bearish right until we break that high. Right? Then you got to rethink this. Say, is something else going on here? But right now, since I've got a perfect golden zone tag and I've got an Elliott count that gives me 2 ways to get to the same conclusion, I'm on the short side. Okay, guys, that's all I got for today. Just a reminder, we had a little, I should say I had a little trouble with the live stream yesterday. I don't know. I think the audio may have been kind of screwy, and partly because I went back to back. I went from one machine and one live stream to another machine. So the audio got fucked up yesterday. So I apologize for that. We'll get that worked out. So if any of you suffered through that yesterday, I apologize. We'll get it sorted. So live streams back on Wednesdays for any of you that like to participate, right? You guys know the format. Members really give us the content, and then we do some analysis, right? So if you're interested in those are going on Wednesdays. We usually do them at around noon, but we record them, understanding that most can't watch in real time. Okay, guys, there you go. As always, you can find more info about what we offer, our courses, our Discord, all that's over on TradeDevils.com. Those links are below. Some of our affiliate links down there. If you want to get some deals we can offer to you, particularly on Sonar Labs, we'll give you a good deal on that. Okay, guys, have a good one, and we'll catch you next week.